the Bitcoin price is on fire. So Bitcoin was up, I believe, over 4% today. It's now down a little bit, around 3.6%. It's at $9,153. The Bitcoin price has not been this high since May 10th of 2018. So Bitcoin has been absolutely on fire since January of 2019. I want to give a props and a shout out to Dr. Marc Faber. He talked about Bitcoin as a speculation again in his newsletter. If you looked at the Bitcoin price chart, it looked like after Bitcoin had crashed again in November of 2018 from 5,000 below, that it had started the bottoming process towards the end of November and through December. And Dr. Marc Faber was buying Bitcoin for himself and recommending it to his newsletter subscribers as a speculation in December and January. So he got close to the bottom. Around January year to date, Bitcoin started in January at $3,715. So it's gone up a lot in just a short amount of time. So why do you think this move has happened? Do you think it's all because of China? There was an interesting, also another reason that I'm doing this short little video today about Bitcoin is because there was an interesting Zero Hedge article out. And the Zero Hedge article talked about how, first of all, it's been talking about potentially the fake volume for Bitcoin and how there's a lot of spoofing and a lot of fake volume in Bitcoin. But it also said, and this is from a research report from a JP Morgan analyst, that there's a lot of extra volume on Bitcoin futures. And that even if the volume is fake on a lot of the smaller crypto exchanges, that the Bitcoin volume in Bitcoin futures contracts has a greater influence now from institutional investors. So that may also have a part to play with this. But my personal opinion why Bitcoin has been rallying a lot has been the escalation of the US versus China trade war. As the capital controls in China have increased, it has become increasingly more difficult for Chinese to get their money out of China. Used to be a lot easier to move money out of China up until the last year or two, get it into real estate, send money to college kids. I've heard crazy stories from some of my China sources and friends who have good China sources about Chinese who send their kids to study in the US or Canada or even Thailand at a bad university in Thailand, and they give the kid like a debit card, and the kid's allowed to take out like the max amount of withdrawals per day. So they don't even care if the kid does well in school there. The kid's allowed to live a lavish lifestyle as long as he gets RMB out of China into Thailand, and then it's easier to start moving it into other currencies. So Bitcoin appears to be back in a bull market. It is really ripping lately. Some of the other cryptos are somewhat benefiting, not quite as much, but Bitcoin dominance, I think, is at 57% of all total market cap. But the cryptos in general have had a big rally in increase in market cap. And this is a market, unlike other markets like stocks and other markets, that is open 24/7, 365 for trading. You have millennials and you have more aggressive traders. You have hedge fund guys who don't believe in the fundamental reason of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. If you read like Safadina Moose and the Bitcoin Standard and you say that we need an alternative to digital debt-based fiat currencies from central banks, well, I can tell you for a fact that most Wall Street and most hedge fund guys and most professional traders don't give a shit about that. So if they see a chart with volume and they see a chart in an upward momentum trend, they're going to find it with their trading algorithm software, or they're going to be looking at charts on their desk with all those computer screens that if you've ever seen some picture or video of a trader set up at their home or home office or at their job. And they're looking for charts like what has been happening with Bitcoin now since January of 2019. So I could easily see just on momentum, no fundamentals whatsoever, Bitcoin continuing much, much higher in the short term. And we could see, some of these governments try to crack down on things more. They always try to do this. Maybe there's a new type of, eventually some type of windfall profits tax on this stuff. But it just seems that lately, Bitcoin has just been building and building and building momentum. The chart just looks fantastic from a bull market and bullish perspective. It's just making higher lows. The dips are being bought. Since the consolidation period looks like it ended in November through January, it's just really started every couple months to just gain momentum and rolling. So comment about what you think is going on right now with Bitcoin. Do you think Bitcoin is still going to crash and go lower? But I don't think Bitcoin's going to crash and go lower. I think Bitcoin's a good speculation. So if you own some gold and silver, you own some cash, some rental properties, again, this is not financial advice, just my opinion, you should definitely have some Bitcoin. Okay, you have to learn how to store it. There's a lot of complications there if you don't know how to store it right with a Trezor or some of these other, I forgot the other storage device. There's the Trezor one, and I forgot the name of the other storage device. I saw my friend post on his Facebook. He's an older gentleman saying that he just bought his new storage device. It was funny seeing that. This was a couple months ago. Yeah, so the traders, my point is the hedge fund guys, the Wall Street guys, the professional traders, they don't give a damn about central banks and fiat currency. Most of them don't. They don't care. I've gotten in arguments with some of these assholes. Some of these trader guys are really nasty people. Like, they're like, the chart looks bad. Everything else doesn't matter. And then, like, they just say, like, you know, ad hominem and nasty stuff. So the Bitcoin chart looks good. So you're going to see these professional traders, these hedge fund guys, if they haven't already opened up a Coinbase or another exchange account to trade, another cryptocurrency exchange account to trade, they're going to start getting in on this because of how good the chart looks. The other things that I would add is a lot of these Wall Street guys, they're not allowed to buy Bitcoin with client money. So there is some institutional like Bitcoin ETFs. I know Mark Yusko has one. It's the SEC regulators are not, I think it's a professionally managed money cryptocurrency index, not an ETF, because there's not going to be an exchange traded product. I believe that the regulators here in the US are not going to approve it. It just really doesn't sound like they're going to allow it. But some of these professional money managers, like professional traders on Wall Street or hedge fund guys who want to trade with their own money but can't use client money for that, or if they're allowed to use client money for any crypto exposure, what they will do as a proxy instead will be to look at something like Overstock or something like Hive blockchain technology. So those two stocks, and this is not financial advice, these are just two stocks to watch out for. You have Hive blockchain technology, which I think is on the Toronto Stock Exchange or the Venture Exchange, and that's backed by Frank Holmes and Frank Giustra and some really other big name investors. And the other one is Overstock. But Overstock doesn't, they accept payment in Bitcoin, but Overstock also has a really bad retail business. So Overstock has fundamental problems at their retail business, and that stock has not done well for a while. But now with Bitcoin rallying, I could see Overstock start to do a 180 reverse, and I could see a lot of lazy Wall Street traders who are too lazy to even open up a Coinbase account just start to use Overstock as a proxy for Bitcoin exposure. Yeah, I own Litecoin, guys. I own Litecoin. I'm holding, not selling. I sold my Ethereum a while ago when it was really, really high after a big run up, and I bought some Litecoin. So I just have, for disclosure, I just own Bitcoin and Litecoin right now. But it's not big positions for me because I'm not a crypto expert, but I do have some crypto exposure. But in this environment we're in, this Keynesian experiment where the People's Bank of China is going to go crazy with its money printing, and then the Fed's talking about cutting interest rates and then quantitative easing, and the European Central Bank is also talking about extending quantitative easing. I mean, this is going to make a lot of asset prices go up, so this is going to probably make some of these other cryptos, especially Bitcoin, look more attractive to at least speculation. Long term, anything can happen with the rules changes with these governments. I could see governments trying to adopt like FedCoin, or I could see governments attempting to put a windfall profits tax on Bitcoin or cryptocurrency holders. If Bitcoin ends up going to $50,000, $100,000, over $100,000, I could see crazy politicians, even Republican ones have talked about this in the past. I could see crazy politicians attempt to do this. The counter argument to that is I've heard some Bitcoin people say, okay, well, if all my Bitcoins are worth $100,000 or more each, I'll just leave my country. Well, it's a lot harder than you think, especially if you're an American citizen. I think Bitcoin ETFs are going to be, I don't think the regulators want Bitcoin ETFs, which is really funny because I went to the DC Blockchain Summit. I've gone to it every year, and you have people from the SEC, you have people from the CFTC, you have people admitting that they own Bitcoin, but they won't approve a Bitcoin ETF. So they're like, oh, our whole family's crypto. My wife owns some, my kids own some, I own some. Like I saw the head of the SEC, I think Christopher Giancarlo or something like that. I saw him give a speech and brag about how his whole family owns crypto, but then they won't approve a Bitcoin ETF. But unfortunately, I think the nefarious part in play is trying to hijack blockchain technology and then adopt it for a cashless society to track and tax every transaction. So then if you're like a rabble-rouser like me or someone with a larger YouTube channel or a larger podcast than me, they can just either shut off your bank account, shut off your credit cards, put on a larger tax on you. Let's say like a hate speech tax or something, anything like that now. Wow, you sold all your silver and bought Litecoin. This is not financial advice, but I don't recommend doing that. But hey, if you want to do trading, go for it. If you want to trade, go for it. But I don't recommend selling all of your precious metals and doing that. That's not diversified. So I do not condone or endorse anything along those lines. So I will attach some links to some of these Bitcoin articles, but it looks like that according to a JP Morgan analyst that the Bitcoin futures now are starting to get long. Maybe that's some money managers in China that are buying Bitcoin futures. But Bitcoin, the chart looks great on Bitcoin. It could go a lot higher. The dips are definitely being bought. So I'm working on something else. I'm working on a short video because there was a listener request to talk about some financial statements. So I'm going to do a very short video, at least try to. I have to play around with the software. I haven't done this in a while, especially with this software. So we'll see how things go. And I'm going to highlight like some of the problems in Alibaba's financial statements. But it looks like Bitcoin is going to be, besides the gold price, Bitcoin is going to be one of the beneficiaries of problems in the Chinese banking system, slowing Chinese economy, and then also the US versus China trade war. Looks like Bitcoin's going to benefit from all this. So I want to thank everyone for listening to this short little video, and I'll attach some links to some articles on this. Not planning on doing a lot, and maybe I'll work on getting Safadine Amus on for an interview because I read the Bitcoin Standard a couple weeks ago and I thought it was quite good. It's available on Audible audiobook. It's talking about Bitcoin from an Austrian School of Economics perspective. So if you're interested in that book, I would highly recommend buying it and listening to the audiobook or reading it. Okay, everyone, bye for now.